order this meeting of Ashcroft Council for Monday, June 22nd, 2026. Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge the meeting today is held within the traditional territory of the Inkatha people. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda? We have the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting that was held on Monday, June the 8th. Councillor Davenport.
There's the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of Council held Monday, June the 8th, be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clement. Are there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held on Monday, June the 8th. Councillor Anstead.
The minutes of the regular meeting of Council held Monday, June 8th be adopted.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tedford. Are there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. We have no delegations this evening. Public input. There is no one in the gallery. We have no bylaws or policies to review. Request for decision. We do have item 6.1, the Statement of Financial Information, otherwise known as the SOFI report, to review and approve. We do have a recommendation. Councillor Clement.
I'll move that the council approve the statement of financial information as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tedford. Are there any questions or comments on this? No. All right, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Information. We have a few choice items here, and we'll tackle them one by one in case anyone wants to comment or any further notes to make. We have the CAO memo regarding the garbage truck replacement program. See you today.
Oh, our garbage truck. This is really Brian's baby.
That's your Benowit. Hello.
Yeah, I'll let Brian speak to him.
Your Worship, Council, over the last several years, our garbage truck, as you quite well know, and the public has, that we've had many mechanical issues. The last one being a high pressure oil pump. You probably haven't seen the bill, but it's coming in right now, probably $8,000 for repair, plus $8,000 tow bill, cameras, etc. So there's roughly $10,000 for the last repair. So we've been talking about it for the last little while, and we were, Yogi, I, and Danielle, going through the financials and trying to save up towards a new garbage truck. We were thinking maybe approximately 600, 650, 700. But the Lord behold that we are looking at roughly just over $500,000 to purchase a new, that is with a Freightliner chassis. We are going away from the international chassis, thank you, that we seem to have problems with. We're going Freightliner, roughly the same, either delivery or a sidewinder garbage truck. So we have, it does state here, 3 quotes. We have 2 in. I'm only actively looking at 2 quotes because they're the 2 main distributors that we deal with. It's Weimar Equipment and Rawlings Equipment. Rawlings is the one we purchased the last 2 garbage trucks from Weimar. We have purchased other equipment from AE sweeper, chips, sprayers, etc. So we are looking at the base price plus taxes. One was $497, and the other one was $453, roughly $454,000 in taxes, etc. And that's basically all in. One is roughly 8 months delivery. The other one is because it's delivery when we have now back east. They're quite popular. They're 14 to 16 months delivery time.
Which one is, what's the price of the 8-month delivery time?
That is the higher price one, which is $500,000 plus taxes. So it would be roughly, I think you'll be roughly $45,000 more than what the other truck was.
The intention is to keep the other truck as backup, if I understand correctly?
The intention is, yes, that we will keep the other truck as a backup in case there are any issues that we're not running to Logan Lake, etc. We will have a truck for a backup.
Would it therefore make sense to stay with Labrie weighted the timeline so that we have more access, more easily access, more of a corporate standing with the supplier for the used parts, et cetera, for delivery versus switching manufacturer?
We are looking at, I've asked the crew, we've had a spec sheet for both, for the chassis and the sidewinder, but for the Packer part, and yes, we're right at this point in time, the favorability would be for the cheaper truck, and not only that is because it is delivery Packer that we are familiar with, and like Councilor Edwards says, we might be able to have some parts on hand that will actually deal with both of them. Delivery Packer is actually, we do believe our old backpacker was a delivery. We haven't had many issues with the Packer itself. It's only been more or less with the chassis. So the tendency at this point in time would be yes, waiting a little longer delivery time and looking at delivery chassis with a Freightliner, or delivery Packer with a Freightliner chassis.
So with the one, the more expensive one, we'd be looking at, well, 8 months is about March of next year. And then the less expensive one would be delivery when?
Approximately 14 months.
So that's July, August, that's September of next year-ish. Now, my only concern would be between March and September, it doesn't take too many $10,000 repair bills to eat up the price difference. That's just,
But as Director of Public Works Bennett just said, $1,000 for a pump. If we switch manufacturers, those pumps potentially are going to be different, likely are going to be different, so there's your $8,000 difference in one pump. Not lines, not anything we can use from the other truck while we're waiting for parts and pieces to come, so. For the sake of simplicity, if you drive a Ford and you have a Ford that's nearly the same thing and you need to draw parts off the Ford, it's a whole lot easier to drive in a Ford and steal parts off of a Hyundai.
Just for clarification, though, we are looking at changing the chassis, which is Freightliner versus the International that we have at this point.
The reason for that is because there have been so many problems with the computer side of the issues with the truck that we run now. And it is notorious, it's not just us, it is a notoriously poor computer system that controls that truck itself. We've had trouble since day one. That has nothing to do with the side of it.
so are we still actively looking for a third quote, or are we going to go with the 2 that we got?
Since they're distributors, I'm comfortable with 2 quotes because there are multiple companies to look at, so it's not, we're going for one company per se. So, yes, it doesn't quite fall into the, probably have to have a resolution, but we need to get going with this as well. And I'm a little bit concerned about what hits us, tariffs or something down the road. So, the sooner we move with it, the better, given, we've got a decent price, things are starting to get expensive, inflation's back. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilor Davenport?
Is there a delivery charge on that, or is that the total price?
That's pretty much total price in. Rollins, like it says, they included their price with the taxes, so Rollins is actually $508,440.80. And that would be, we'd probably have to send somebody down to Langley to pick it up and deliver it. Mind you, usually the Oxford to new vehicle, they delivered on site.
A safe ballot?
It's Amazon delivery.
Well, you're
Firefly
waiting
will
for
bring
that
it.
one, yeah.
If you order now, it'll be here by Wednesday the 17th, okay.
I have never seen anything come from them that wasn't PDI'd up there with the rest of the group.
So is this going to come back to us at the July meeting then for final decision? Okay. All right, any other questions or comments?
Should we wait that long? Do we have to wait that long?
We don't have to wait that long. The intent of the report was just, Mayor and I had spoken, and she asked, for an update, and I said, I'll bring it to all of council so everyone's on the same page and is aware. So that was the intent behind the report, just to bring you all up to speed as to what we're doing, and that there is progress happening and options coming down the pipe, but it's absolutely council discretion if you wish to make a motion today.
Your worship, we've asked for feedback from the group, so at least we'd like to wait for that, and if the council's okay, once we get the feedback, we can proceed with it. If it's not conflicting with what we're talking about right now.
Alright, so we don't need to make a decision. I mean, I'm happy to let the crew decide what they're the ones who are gonna be running it, not me.
Bring it back to next council meeting and
Well,
for approval, or did you want to?
I mean, we're kind of hamstrung, because if we make a decision now, then it really doesn't matter what the crew says, they can all go the opposite way, and we've decided. So I would be more comfortable, perhaps having a special meeting once the crew has had a chance to weigh in, because our next meeting is not for another month. If we could have a special council meeting, perhaps attending by Zoom, then we could at least cut a couple of weeks off the process. Okay.
And certainly you'd be able to give the input from tonight, if they haven't seen it, with respect to Reed versus others.
All right, thank you very much. It's always nice to hear a major piece of equipment comes in less expensive than we thought.
One more thing, your worship. We'd set aside, we've reached about 550,000 in reserves in M&A fund, so we were able to build those reserves faster. We're cutting back on other reserves, so this was, we were keen to move as fast as possible.
Yes, just for clarification, we do have the funds on hand. We will not have to borrow from somewhere else or take money from somewhere else to fund this.
We've been kind of expecting this, I think, in a lot of ways.
Oh, been on the wish list for a while.
Yeah.
All right, item 6.3, Mesa Park basketball court replacement.
Well, this was a fun little project, as Brian, we had been talking obviously with some of our local contractors about the project and the floor paving happening, and Associated Electrical approached Brian and said, well, we'd really like to see if the neighbors are coming, maybe it would be nice to have a basketball court done as well. So Brian costed that out. It was quite a lot more than what they anticipated, so they took the initiative out on themselves to reach out to some other local businesses, and then reached out to Urban Systems to see if there was an appetite to make a donation. So today we've raised $9,500 towards a $14,000 project. So we do have some monies left available within that budget, so we're able to move forward with the donation. So Public Works has prepped the field, they've ripped out the old asphalt already, they've got the base layer, I think, established from the picture that I saw, and I had intended to attach pictures to the report, but Oscar got them to me too late, so I sent it out. Yeah, but no, it's looking really good. And do you know the date of potential paving?
Potential paving for the Mesa Vista Hill and this project is roughly the 23rd or 24th.
So tomorrow or Wednesday. It's fun driving up that gravel side.
Well, not so much when you're going into the second apartment.
I haven't seen that light on my dashboard come on since the last time I was sliding on snow and ice. It's fun.
Good job.
Well, I mean, a huge shout out to AES for taking
Yes.
the initiative on this. Thank you to the other stakeholders who've come on board with funding. I think it's a great initiative, and it's nice to see another piece of the Mesa Park puzzle fall into place. Councilor Took.
Yeah, with respect to the urban systems piece of the puzzle, we paid almost $250,000 for their services last year, and what they contributed back to this is less than 1%. It seems a little disproportionate unless prior to my council time, they have been extremely generous with other stuff. Don't wanna bang on them, but Associated Electric, I know it's in their backyard personally, however,
they've been paid $100,000 less by our village than urban systems have, and have stepped up for over twice that value. But I know this is a volunteer basis, however, I just wanted to make the point that it seems disproportionate if the will of urban systems is to help us here in the town.
I was grateful they gave us the 2,500. I had asked for the balance. But I think the powers that be in campus that make the decision aren't necessarily the engineers that we work with. We can certainly share that in conversation that, you know, we do contribute, but it's a fine line. We might want to ask them for contributions again later on.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be seeming ungrateful for the 2,500 that they did contribute.
That's why I predicated it with what had been done prior to this,
Prior to,
so that I wasn't speaking out of turn, not having been on council before.
since my arrival, we haven't received any donations from there. Are you aware of anything? But in their defense, they may not have been asked.
I'm not aware of any asking.
Yeah.
I'm also conscious too, from talking to other major corporations, that they get a lot of requests for donations.
Oh, sure.
And if they said yes to all of them to the extent that the requesters would like, it would quickly add up to a lot of money. Personally, I'm grateful that they gave us anything at all. I certainly don't want to appear churlish by saying, oh, well, it's not enough, or it's too small, or anything. Would we like some of our corporate partners to step up a little bit more? Yes. I'm grateful for what we do get, and I am conscious on the other side of the fence, they get lots and lots and lots of communities and community organizations with their hands out. And it is hard to say no. Very hard to say no.
Believe me, I understand. The years I ran friendship, before and after I was with the village, I understand. We set aside a certain amount and it had to be allocated, and it just wanted to point out that they are our main engineering go-to. And it was, and I know what the ask was, but thank you.
Amy? Councilor Devon?
Point taken. The way I see it, all three of these are corporate neighbors that this is the beginning of perhaps something that could be a trend for any project that we do. A lot of these companies have not, maybe Associated Electric, sure, but the terminal has been somewhat there for us, but our corporate partners, corporate neighbors could always be a little more present, including a few other that I could probably name, but I won't. But I think it's the beginning of something that perhaps we should make note of, and that could possibly be significant in the way how we fundraise too. For some of these projects, you know.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we move on to number 6.4, CAO memo on the community barbecue, and update on that.
Yay. It's coming along nicely. Boxy castles are ordered. We're looking through the food, the licensing for that. Margaret has always done it in the past. She will actually, I believe, be in Portugal when we have our barbecue. So I've asked her to teach Courtney how to do the food permitting, so someone else on staff is trained. And that way, if there's any issues, Courtney can deal with it because it'll be her name and all the right things. So that's moving along well. Boss is so excited to be joining us. They're very happy. They've got some like big games to contribute. They have, I can't remember all the games that she had, but she has some like kind of that Connect Four, that big giant Connect Four. Kind of, so she said they'll bring a couple of family-friendly fun activities for their station. The invitations will be going out to the service groups to come and set up a booth and tell us what they're doing and what their mandate is and what their goals are, and perhaps they can have a few people sign up and join their looking, I'm kind of curious about council commitment, who's available to help us that day. Because that's going to determine how much staff I pull in.
Yeah.
I'm really good at wrapping buns in napkins.
Fantastic. You'll be, and Brian and I are really good at crying over the barbecue. But I feel like I might be able to step back.
Step back from the barbecue.
Wonderful.
It's hot.
It gets very hot.
It gets really hot around the barbecue.
You have to keep moving the barbecue as the sun keeps moving.
In August, we can really just leave them on the picnic tables and.
So you just
naturally.
just sizzle on the pavement around.
I think the trick is to get the smoke not going into your eyes.
Yes.
There's a
Oh,
point
good
at
luck.
which whichever way we turn, the smoke came right at.
Absolutely.
It always with.
Councilor Tickler, I saw your hand up.
It's just voluntary. It's on my,
Okay.
it's on my August 22nd, so just,
I'm not sure if I'm here that weekend or not, we haven't finalized plans, but if I am.
Okay, perfect. So we've got 4 for sure. Wonderful. Thank you.
And I saw Sherry from Boss at the night market last night. She is so excited about the
She is.
the partnership. So.
Yeah. Yeah, she keeps emailing me. Thank you, we're so excited. Excellent.
All right, and 6.5, economic development and tourism update. We have an update. Anyone have any questions or comments on that?
And I do know that the filming crew will be filming the 25th, 26th, I believe, in Safety Mart and around, and there will be parking in our parking lot down on Railway Avenue. And, yeah, it's the season, it's beginning to get busier, we're getting more and more contacts.
Great, thank you. All right, for action, U15 softball grant in aid special request. We have a request from the Cache Creek Chaos U15 girls who are off to provincials in Port Alberni very soon. A request from the team. Councilor Anson.
I'd like to make a motion that the village, request the special consideration of grant aid to assist with the costs associated with attending the 2026 U15 provincial championships in Port Alberta on July 1st to the 3rd, 2026. In total of $500.
Okay, so I'd like to second that. Councilor Davenport. Any discussion? Councilor Taylor.
I am totally in favor of this because it falls within the knowledge of what groups are going to get to that point and represent us beyond. Obviously, that is the point here. Can we have a discussion at some point down the road to table a certain amount of the spring intake so that it can be allocated between the period of the spring intake and the fall intake, so that if we have teams that reach this point that are not, as the school district report pointed out, there were also students that got into the track and field beyond that, but they're sponsored through the school district. If we have a group that's outside of the school district but still is in the youth, can we allocate a maximum of, just questioning here, $1,000 that would be held out of the spring intake for the potential of this happening provincial qualification wise, et cetera, and then be rolled into the fall intake, and if not used in the fall intake, rolled into following year's intake? I don't know how that would work financially, CFO Bala, but
Who's got their hand up first? Councilor.
2 questions. One, what was our fall intake like last year? If I recall correctly, our fall intake was lower than our spring intake because most people are planning in the spring. I would be comfortable saying we could take stuff out of the fall intake and accommodate extraordinary things that happen, but the majority of people and the majority of organizations are planning in the early year for events for the year. And so to take half of our allocation, we can then find 3 people potentially.
okay, so as an alternative thought to that, we make the spring intake larger than the fall intake, and we automatically roll a spring intake that isn't used over to the fall, but we reserve it for the fall only, unlike we did at the last council meeting for the wayward cat, the unspayed cat program, so that it's guaranteed to hang on until the fall and people can use it for that intake.
Sounds like it's getting very complicated from an accounting tracking point of view.
That's why I'm asking.
So it was just a history, we used to have a smaller amount for grants in aid. So we grew to $2,500 and then we grew it to $5,000 annually. Now, how we split up, you know, I think we have it split evenly right now, but we do have flexibility as long as we don't exceed the $5,000 to move it in between. As far as at the end of the year, nothing carries forward, the budget's done, so if there's a surplus, there is a surplus, anything left over. Typically it's getting used. So in this case, if you're going to pay for this, it'll reduce the fall amount by the same amount. Council is open to assigning maybe 3,500 for spring and a bit less fall. But to reserve aside, that might take out other groups' opportunity to use it. So as they come in, we cannot predict who's going to be, qualified, and at a certain point, so we can move the split, but I wouldn't recommend reserving $1,000 with more than likely, or $1,500. That $1,000 then doesn't get used, and some people get rejected. So
I'd be happier to leave the spring intake at 2,500, leave the fall intake at 2,500. If we do grant an extraordinary amount such as this, it gets reduced from the fall. So now the fall intake will be 22,000 available for the other groups that will apply. Because there will be some years when there will be no groups of sports people, applying. There will be other times when there will be maybe 2, maybe 3. That's what.
So if I were a prudent business person and I was planning on something to happen in the fall of this year, like when I ran the car show for 7 years in the past decade, if I was planning on that, then I would make sure that I was on the dole at the spring meeting, and that would even make a bigger diaspora in the fall meeting attempt, whereas prior to this, I would wait until the fall and take my September intake for my October car show. So you're going to, anybody that's watching this closely and understands it is then going to apply in the spring.
Don't we have a timeline that says if you apply in the spring, your event must fall before a certain date?
That's my follow-up question. Is that already mandated?
Yes.
Okay, and that was my follow-up question to this. So there is a timeline mandated for spring usage and fall usage.
And the fall has been historically less intake.
I've watched that. Okay. Just
CFO Val.
council evaluates the kind of request they're coming if somebody is just trying to pre-plan and, you have the option to say no, right? But typically there's enough people applying that it's very little which is left over at the end of the year. So it's a competitive process where we choose the organizations we think the best serve the community. So.
understood. It's very difficult to say hi to friends or no to friends, and we are friends of the community, so I do understand.
So, Councillor Anstey has made a motion, which has been moved and seconded, which is to allocate $500 to the Cash Creek Chaos U15 girls team. And the understanding is that money, that $500, will decrease the amount of grant funding available at the fall intake. So right now it'll stand at $2,000. Okay. Any further discussion? On the question, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. All right, number of items here for information. Do you have any questions, comments? I will note, ST 74 is not making a decision as of yet on potential name change. For the school district, that is going to, there's going to be a special meeting at 9 o'clock this Wednesday morning. And that is one of the two items that's going to be discussed. It's not going to be a very long meeting. It can't be because grad starts at 9:30 on Wednesday morning. So that's going to put a natural end time on that meeting, but the decision is going to be tabled for the time. Councilor Chen?
I would like to add to the information in that report that the new student trustee program is fantastic. Fantastic on a lot of levels. Not only is this what we used to call student council in some regards, but it also will foster young people to step into the public realm down the road. I think it's fantastic.
Anything else for information here that anyone wanted to speak to? Councilor Tedford?
Just with regard to the EV questionnaire about how could they help us, how could we help them, et cetera, with our particular EV charging station. I was stopped by somebody the other day that asked if I knew where they could find water for their dog because they were there longer than they had expected to be with no table, no shade, and no water source. So I directed them to GT Auto and we got them water for their pup there, but it occurred to me, and then this came across the feed, and it occurred to me, yeah, there's a lot of people that spend a couple of hours there that don't have any shade, shelter, and or table, and I don't know if it had ever been addressed. I can't remember it being addressed.
My experience, which is extremely limited on using charging stations, but one of the things that it asks you when you're searching for your charging stations is the amenities that you're looking for. So, and that is, BC Hydro does do that, so when they're searching for me, if they just stumbled on it, they wouldn't know, but if they're actually in the app, it'll say, are you looking for trails, or a park nearby, or shopping nearby, or a dog park nearby. All of those things you can select your charging station based on what you're seeking.
Didn't realize I was on there.
I'm wondering if they would allow us to put a sign by the station that says like Heritage Park right there, public washrooms open Eastern to Thanksgiving, dawn to dusk, or whatever the hours are, just so that people know that if they just walk 3 steps this way, there is a place for them to sit in the shade, there is a place for them to get water if it's during the washroom hours.
In this particular situation, I'd seen them pull up charging a Ford Lightning pickup truck. I went up to the Mesa, didn't know the gentleman. I went up to the Mesa, worked on the condo up there for a while, came back down, he was still sitting there. And that's when he waved me,
Yeah.
and just knowing that I was likely a local.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe.
Just if we can put a sign up that just says,
Yeah.
downtown is a block that way,
Yeah.
get out of your vehicle.
Good for business, good for the park, good for the community. It was just, and it was only spurred because of that piece of literature.
Just as a note, I often get people walking down for that purpose, to have water or washrooms, or directing them to somewhere that is a 20-30 minute visit, or happen to be there kind of moment. So it does happen more than perhaps you think that it's people do utilize what we were trying to do when we put it there. It is, from my point of view as a business person, it's working. So just some feedback.
And I've seen a number of comments from people using the facility in Cache Creek. They will talk on, wherever stopped in Cache Creek to charge up. Went down to Hungry Herbie's and had an awesome milkshake, or whatever. And, some people might go, oh, well, so they sold 1 milkshake. Well, they probably sold more than 1 milkshake. And you sell a few extra burgers and shakes in a week, multiplied by X number of weeks in a year, it adds up.
We were in the subway recently, and it was the same scenario, so.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business, we have the task managers. Anyone have any questions about the task manager? All right. And we do have, item 8.2, the notice of motion, development of a heritage register. So, I'm going to move that council direct staff to research what would be entailed in developing a heritage register for the village of Ashcroft, the using the heritage registers of the Thompson Regional District and Village of Clinton as examples, and report back to council on the feasibility of such register. Seconded by Councillor Clement, thank you. And just briefly, the TNRD implemented one, Village of Clinton took that and copied it, which is great, which is why we do these things, so that other people can learn. And basically, they have the Palace Hotel in Clinton on it right now. It does not confer any restrictions on people who own the properties or homes. It is not like you're now officially designated a heritage property, so now you can only put period appropriate siding on your house or anything. It merely is a way of designating that the Village of Ashcroft and its residents think that this building or this site or this property is of historic heritage interest. And what they've done with the Palace Hotel in Clinton as their first entry on the register, which is purely an online thing at the moment, is they had a volunteer from the museum in Clinton research it thoroughly, write a lengthy piece giving the full detail of the palace, how it came about, who owned it over the years, how it's changed, with a variety of pictures, historical pictures throughout. And I like that idea because we've heard time and again from residents in Ashcroft how much they value the history and the heritage of the town. We have some awesome walking tour guides, and of course the Explore Ashcroft booklet, the award-winning community guide, but they only have room for 2 sentences, and not all of the heritage buildings. So this would be a way to expand and have a more fulsome, more thorough record of each of these properties. Now, the way it works in Clinton is someone from the public will say, I think that, in this case, say, the Ashcroft Museum building should be on the heritage register because it has a long and fascinating history. That would come to council, who would look at the request and either say yes, let's do the research to get it on the heritage register, or no. Another restriction they have in Clinton is that it must be before 1960. But recognizing that some newer structures might be of importance or significance to people, you can nominate something that was made or built after 1960. And they have 4 core principles. You must meet one of them, the building must meet one of them. So I'd like to have council and staff go and just see what would be involved and see if we can do this for Ashcroft. That would be an awesome online resource for residents, for tourists, and for historians. Councillor Ted?
I heard Mayor Stanky talking about it while we were at Solga, and he was extremely excited about it, and it did seem like it was going to be a prospective draw down the road. And of course, the old gas station at 70 Mile received that type of status not that long ago, so I think this is a good idea. Thank you.
Councillor Clement?
So Dick, that grant I sent you might apply to this.
So, I mean, we're very fortunate here in that we do have a curator and a summer student at the museum here. We do, in Clinton, they don't have that luxury. Andy May, who spent many hours in that museum, was very envious of us here in Ashcroft. So it's volunteers at the museum who do the work. So talking to Mayor Stanky about it, he emphasized that, you know, this is, someone doesn't propose the Ashcroft Museum building to go on the Heritage Register, and within a week there's a 2,500 word essay with 18 pictures up there. You know, these things could take a while, and they're done one at a time, but I mean, a good place to start in the absence of, say, someone nominating something is to look at the buildings that were designated by the Revite Committee back in the 1990s, because they do have those rather nice plaques, and then the ones that have been added since. That might be a good starting point, because they are obviously marked for tourists to see, and I see them stopping outside the Journal all the time. Councillor Chen?
Absolutely, this is a fantastic idea. Speaking personally from my time as owner of the DX, of course, my daughter owns it now. There were times when we had cameras in the windows taking pictures through the window because they thought it was a museum. There was a time I was home and they opened the front door and walked in, and I was laying there in a sweat in my underwear. It was not a museum.
they were more shocked than me. However, it needs to be pointed out that if there's a concern, I think it needs to be pointed out, if there's a concern about a place like the EX going on a registry like this, that perhaps the homeowner should be aware of the fact that it has happened, so that they can be cognizant of the fact there might be people. Happened even last night at the car show. There were people over there taking pictures, and I said, "Well, please don't."
I get people walking in the front door of the journal office, or even just coming in, but if I leave it open when it's warm to get a bit of a through breeze through, I will be sometimes startled to hear someone in the outer office, and I go, "How can I help you?" "Oh, no, we're just looking."
Yeah.
Sure.
Same thing about the Opera House, perhaps that might be
Mm-hmm.
something similar to what you're talking about.
So that's the only caveat to that I
Yeah.
have.
Any other comments? All right, on the question, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried, thank you. We have no new business. We have no reports or recommendations from committees, committee of the whole, or commissions. Council reports, boy, it's been busy. Reminder that Dan Lovett, the CNPC Seniors Advocate, will be at the hub tomorrow from 11 till 1, thanks to MLA Lauren Dirksen. He will be here to talk to seniors and anyone else who wants to hear from our new 2 years or so ago, Seniors Advocate, about issues pertaining to seniors in the province. I went to the Ashcroft Cache Creek Seniors Strawberry Tea, which was quite lovely. I was asked to say a few words. Fine. Didn't get in the way of the strawberry shortcake, so that's the main thing. Awesome bake table, huge bake table, biggest bake table I've ever seen at a seniors event, and by the time, I don't know, 45 minutes into it, it looked like locusts went through. There were like 3 muffins and a cookie left. Okay, well, I guess I'm not getting any cinnamon buns. So very well attended, and always a lovely occasion. Went to the Ashcroft Indian Band, National Indigenous Peoples' Day, saw Councillor Tinford there, really, really nice event as usual. And then I ducked out at one point to go to the teddy bear picnic and read a story to the Kiddlywinks and told them about the friendly monster, the garbage gobbler. So I suspect there were about 30 kids going home to their parents and saying, "You have to take us to Ashcroft Manor so we can see the garbage gobbler." So, sorry parents, if that's why what they were asking you, that's why I take the blame. And then yesterday, yes, it's only Monday, yesterday, Stuffed House First Nation Bonaparte had a ceremony out at the Ashcroft Terminal. They had an initial ceremony at the plaque that was put out there last year, which is outside the gate, so anyone can get to it at any point. And then we got onto a bus and went out into the lower site by the CN yard, where there is a new plaque marking where ancestral remains have been interred that were found at the site several years ago. They have now been interred in a marked spot with a plaque explaining the significance. So that was very nice. There were elders. MLA Dirksen was there. I was there from the Journal, but I was asked to say a few words, so sure. But it was a very nice occasion. Marilyn and Antoine, I think, was there doing smudging with the feather, which, yeah, it was very nice. And there were some youngsters here too, which was really nice to see, along with the elders. So this week, so in addition to the Seniors Advocate, on Thursday, I will be into Kamloops for TNRD stuff. Yes, TNRD stuff. And a report on the Saw Creek fire started on Friday outside south of Lytton. Rapidly spread, mostly stayed to the east side of the highway. I saw an awesome 3D rendering which now shows exactly how steep that terrain is and where the fire has gone up the hillside. But it has largely stayed above the highway and is blowing vaguely in a northeast direction. So the properties on evacuation order were on the east side of the highway. The properties on evacuation order were on the west side of the highway. A number of the orders have been lifted for the Ponderosa subdivision up above town. That was on evacuation order, the area that survived the 2021 wildfire. Yes. So, yes, so, and I know a big shout out to Barrier Fire Rescue for putting out a fire near Ashcroft on their way through. Clearwater, Clinton, Loon Lake were 4 of the fire departments that send mostly push trucks down. I noticed a crew which tells you what kind of fire terrain you're fighting it in. and on their way down, Ashcroft Fire Rescue got paged out to a fire in a ditch, I think, at Highway 1 on Cornwall Road, and then they were stood down because Barrier Fire Rescue had actioned it, which caused a little bit of, what? And then they found that the Barrier crew had spotted it on their way through, and thought, oh, take care of that. Let's take care of that while we're rolling through, as you do.
And they held it.
Yeah.
There's not a big fire, but if you drive by, you can see how quickly it could have been.
Oh, yeah.
So a huge thank you to Barrier Fire Rescue for being so quick to step in and take action on that. And that's it. Councillor Anson. No, Councillor Clement.
Just two quick things. The Hawk annual general meeting got moved to next week, so I'll report on that at our next meeting. And then I officially have received my level 1 leadership from LGLA.
Congratulations.
Getting a certificate at UPCM. The leadership conference that I went to was the last thing to tick off. So
Good, congratulations. Councillor Dunn.
nothing for me.
Yeah, and Councillor Tipp.
Yes. We had the Dragon Challenge car show yesterday. I don't know if you understand the Dragon Challenge, but what they do is they have to run their cars in the race, pack their cars up, drive to the next city, race, pack their cars up, drive to the next city, race. They do 4 or 5 venues in a week. Started at Cache Creek, went to Prince George after racing, then to McBride after racing, then down to Merritt, and there were issues in Merritt. I don't know them firsthand, but I will tell you that they were approximately 2 hours behind where they thought they were going to be releasing the cars from the track, which caused some issues yesterday. Fortunately, I was there, was able to organize our local cars that showed up for the car show, and as the race cars came in, the organizers of the event were stuck in Merritt dealing with politics and logistics there that hadn't gone the way they were supposed to. Let's leave it at that. So thank goodness I had been in the position to run a car show here a few times, and it happened to fall right in front of my old venue, so I was able to organize it pretty well on the fly. We had a monstrous turnout of cars. We had a monstrous turnout from the community. I hope it was good for the farmers market. I never got there to even see, but all of these cars had to have their pictures taken in front of the farmers market in order to qualify to carry on to race this morning. It was a qualification thing, and you have to prove that you made the drive. And all of those pictures were taken in front of the farmers market and distributed all over the world, because this is an international thing. I even saw it in New Zealand when I was there. So we got huge international praise out of this yesterday. We were fortunate that it went off as well as it did. It took a little bit of effort, but the village crew laid out the barricades where they were supposed to be. I just had to facilitate making things happen around that, and everybody was happy. They spent time, they spent money here, and I know that our one restaurant that was open last night did well. So that not just, I'm sorry, not that the one downtown, but also yours, I think, did well.
We sold it.
Yeah, I was told that you'd sold it when I was still sending people there, so I'm glad to hear that as well. So kudos to Dragon Challenge, kudos to Diane and Mark Natelier. They're just up the road at 100 Mile. They do spend a lot of time putting this together. It was a fantastic thing, and it was great for our community.
Well, I'm glad. I walked over there around 3:30, and I only saw about 5 cars, and so I didn't go back. I wish I had now, because I was flat on busy at work, so I didn't have a chance to go back. So I'm glad more cars came.
Yeah, no, that was the concern, and there were people that had come and gone even with their cars. Local people had come and gone prior to, and then all of a sudden it started to dribble in, and then it went
Nuts.
Yeah, everything I showed up at once.
Yeah,
It was really short.
it was crazy.
Well, they were all finished racing, and they were all released from the track, and I guess there were issues at the airport with politics as well as firefighting efforts, and it got very convoluted up there, but I'll leave it at that. It's a long story, but
we did very well as a community, and we stood up as a community, and they would have brought the event here for 2 days if they'd had to, because they knew we would have their back. So that was fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you very much to Councillor Tedford for stepping in and using your expertise. All right. In that case, we have need of a closed meeting, so I'm going to move that council adjourn to a closed meeting to discuss an item under the Community Charter, Section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. Seconded by Councillor Clement, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any?